Good to go? All right. Good evening, everybody. I want to call to order the CIP meeting, Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019, at 6:02 p.m. in the Sunapee Middle High School library. We're going to jump right into, well, actually for the folks watching, let's just do a quick introduction and then we'll jump right into the Fields Committee update. We do have a couple people that are going to be joining midstream because of other plans, but we're going to keep on chugging. So I'll start. Jesse Tyler, School Board.
Andy Nichols, School Board.
Jody Bergen, Principal, Sunapee Central Elementary School.
Sean Winihan, Principal, Sunapee Middle High School.
Ingrid Nichols, Banwell Architects.
Brad Prescott, Banwell Architects.
Matt Lorenas, District Facility Director.
Les Holden, Superintendent.
You want to introduce yourself?
Matt Wheaton, DEW Construction.
Thank you, sir. Excellent. And Gordon's going to be joining us as soon as he can. So first topic for tonight. So Fields Committee update. We're going to start there. We've got 5 items to go through. Okay. So you want to lead that off and I'll color if you want me to?
Sure. So we had a Fields Committee meeting this morning. We are still a little uncertain about Fields, to put it lightly, because we have some idea that the field behind the high school is probably not feasible financially. So we, Scott Blewett and I have been searching for some other properties, using some local help with Mr. Webb, Van Webb. We had not had a lot of success, except we have found one piece that Gordon's working with the owner on now, which looks like it could be a viable option. It's pretty close. It's off of Fieldstone Acres, and it would mean purchasing some land, but it looks like a pretty viable option right now. We also tossed around the idea of there's a piece of property in the neighboring town in Croydon. It's a very large piece of property, but it's a flat, it's old farmland, and it's very close. It's right down the street from your house, right on the corner. So I went to the Croydon town office today, got the tax map number on it. I have left the owner a message and see if he's got any interest in carving off a piece of that and seeing what that could be for possibilities. But I would say, as far as development costs and access to multiple egresses, the one in Croydon is a lot nicer because it's got 4 different routes to get in and out. It's flat land and it's old farmland, so it has a lot of bonuses. It's in the wrong town, but it's right on the border.
The main thing for the community to understand is that we aren't there yet with the Fields. We'd love to have something that we're really excited to share. We are very excited about the progress on the building. There's been some pretty remarkable progress and a lot of really good teamwork and some hard conversations about compromise to get to where we are. But we don't have the same story to tell yet for the field. So there's very actively being worked on. Any additional community help that we can get is welcome. Every rock's being turned over, and whatever the cliche is.
So we did research the property on West Court, which is right across from the high school entrance. We were really hopeful that that might be a viable piece, and we talked to one of the owners out there. He had a pretty nice flat 5 to 6 acres. He had no interest in selling his piece, and the problem with the West Court piece that the town already owns is that the individual that owned it before him was going to start a Sunapee Springs water company, and he punched 8 or 9 wells in the property, and some of them are really good producing wells. So the town has the water rights, which we will probably need to use in the future, and there's an 800-foot protected circle around every well, so it's like Swiss cheese up there. The property's really not viable for a sports, for field.
Please.
And just on the Croydon property, I probably know the answer to this, but Croydon's a fairly big town, land-wise. But if I have the place correct as you're explaining it, we're probably looking a 5-minute ride from the school.
It's probably, I bet mileage-wise, it's about the same as the Fieldstone acres.
Okay, yeah.
It's very, very close. You go, North Road to Ryder Corner, I mean, I don't think it's 3 miles from here.
Yeah, so, and again, I think that's important because, there's a version where that Croydon could be a 25-minute ride.
Right.
But,
No, we're
but-
right.
But we're, from
on
what
the
it sounds
Sunapee
like,
line.
it's gonna be on the Sunapee line.
Right.
Yeah, it's a couple miles, and so
Yeah.
both.
And
both
we have no
options.
idea if that's a viable option.
Yep.
But we wanted to explore it because it is a flat piece of land that is next to, it's close to the school. And we don't have a lot of that here, close by.
Yeah, so anything viable is being pursued. You've done a great job, and Scott from the rec department, and you guys talking with Dan Webb and everybody in town. So we have a couple potentials, but we're not to a point where we can say, this is what we're really excited about. That's a very different message we're gonna get to when we talk about the building, because we are excited about that, and we have made some progress. But we just want the community to be informed that, this is where we are right now, and we're gonna figure it out. But a lot of work and time is going into it, and especially for, the folks that are on the field subcommittee. It's been, a lot of time and a lot of good work. So anything else on fields for tonight? We have, just in the background for people that are here, or if anyone on film can see it, we've gone to extreme lengths to exhaust any options to put fields on existing town land that we have, or school land in particular. We've gone to great lengths to find ways to do that. I don't know that tonight that we need to go any farther into that, but this is some of the evidence of that work. So unless anyone feels differently, I'd like to move us forward if
I
that's
don't know if
all.
Gordon had anything else.
Gordon, do you have, we're just
Nothing additional, just.
from this morning?
From this
Okay.
morning, no.
Okay, great. So we want to move forward to agenda item number 2, the geotechnical update on the soccer field.
I don't know if we've gotten that back yet.
We do not have the geotechnical report, but the tests were done, and the initial results that we're hearing, the verbal, is that it is a buildable field. It doesn't have any major obstacles to it. So again, for the benefit of the public, what we went out and where there might be the addition of the building out on your playing fields, there was some talk that might have been fill over the years or some other things. So we had geotechnical done, and we're getting back that it's buildable. It's not gonna be a problem, if that's the way it goes.
Great, that's all we're looking
That's
for
all
for an
we're looking
update.
for.
Yep, that meets the agenda item. Anything anyone else wanna comment or insight? I mean, it's progress so far, we don't have the report yet. So by verbal, we'll hear positive things and be patient for the report. Next up is finalize the process for the October 30th public forum. So, there's a draft agenda that we can work off of, if that's all right with everybody. You guys have done this a few hundred times, so any energy saving and guidance that we're paying you as a consultant for is welcome in the middle of any sentence. How do you wanna proceed in the best way so we're ready for Wednesday? Can I just walk through the agenda
Let's just
items?
walk through the agenda.
Okay, so, recommending we start with, just a welcome and introductions, because we're gonna have people that haven't been to, many people have been to the meetings, the same people are watching the videos. Just trying to slow down a little bit, because we're all so close to this, and have a lot of time and energy wrapped up into it, is just get everyone to slow down a little bit, so that somebody who's there for the first time doesn't have to have been to the last 5 meetings. People that have been to the last 5 meetings get reinforcement of what we've been trying to convey, transparency and the idea gathering and everything. So, welcome, goals for what we're gonna try to do on Wednesday. Andy and I can kind of MC, worked well last time, we would like to do that again. And then, I guess what we could do is, the key things that we're gonna cover in the agenda is the review of the project drivers. I think we can just reuse the slides. You had some nice slides for that, just reuse them again from the prior presentation. Work so far, so that anybody who's had any touches gets an update of the movement, but anybody there for the first time can understand it. Review the stopgap work for the Sunapee Elementary School. So if the community decides not to support transforming to a modern school, we're left with the old school, what's that gonna cost? Is that feeling reasonable that by Wednesday we'd be able to share that, an estimate with the community?
Correct, it's, is it just the elementary school?
No, it's also the high school.
Yeah, both, I'm just,
Okay,
that's
so-
where I started.
Matt, those are your questions that you put out
Oh, yeah,
earlier.
okay, yeah.
If you wanted to pass those around.
Sure.
But just to make sure that, well, we are looking to go to a modernized school, we have an old school that, well, we have two, an old and a not as old school that both need some work. And then particularly with the interest around the elementary school, where if somebody comes in, isn't familiar with the standards, isn't familiar with the project, we had somebody come in and say, this looks fine, let's just keep using it. Just to, I guess, educate and inform.
Yeah.
Following with that, help people understand the urgency that we're feeling, if it's their first exposure to it.
So the only thing I say is, if people are thinking it's only at the elementary school and we start talking about middle school, high school touches, they may say, well, now how's this grown? So, I don't know if you wanna clarify that one item, and just touch on it in your introduction, that the stopgap is not just elementary school, we're doing some things here on this campus
That
as
need
well.
to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can reframe that as,
Yep.
if we're not gonna do these additions, or however we're gonna move forward, to
Yeah.
keep using these schools and have them safe and adequate, this is what it's gonna be. So we can reframe that as more than the elementary school, so I misspoke on that. Does that address it for you,
As
on that topic?
Yeah, just, I mean, there's one point, I just wanna know how we're naming these things, but it's not really I don't need that for what I'm doing for
Right.
for this committee. But just understanding the, sort of the common terminology, so we're all saying the same thing as we're up there talking.
So at this point, I've sort of been transitioning to a label of work that's renovation only, which is really the no bond vote approval options. And the other one was renovation with addition, which is the
So the
putting.
renovation only would be,
If nothing else happens.
nothing else happens, this is what we need to do to bring up the code, to bring it up to safe standards.
I like the terminology, gets us all level set,
Right.
so let's all use that after this moment, that would be helpful, so we don't accidentally introduce confusion, like I was starting to.
So renovation only.
Renovation only, and then the other one is renovation and addition.
And we can present that
And
as,
and one story and then two story.
Right,
So
and, right,
one
that
story-
second category is too obvious.
Yep, okay.
we'll introduce the renovation only as total school package
Yeah,
for both schools, what we need to do.
We didn't letter the two options, we're just saying now it's a one-story, two-story.
right.
Right.
Much, much more clear.
Yep.
So just to leap ahead a little bit to how we want to, label and share the pricing categories. When we were talking, jump in, to correct me or Russ as well, we've been talking about the new elementary school in the field, fixing the middle high school, and doing the fields. Sort of three segments of the project. And if those aren't gonna happen, it's the renovation
Only.
only. So we're all, I see enough majority nodding that we're synchronized.
With the fourth one being, just the second option is the one and two-story with performance and that, right?
Yeah, that's, the build,
No, so, let me just clarify that. So the way we're pricing it today is there's a one story
Mm-hmm.
with the middle school, high school renovations with the field.
Right.
yes.
There is a two story with an auditorium.
Correct.
There's no with or without on
But
that, on that one.
I meant that the two-story would have the performance and the one-story would not.
Correct.
Yeah, yep, yeah, I'm on the same.
Okay, yep.
Yep.
It's worth plodding through this monotony to make sure we're all singing on the same tune when
Yeah.
the band starts playing.
Right.
All right, so so that answers one of the questions, to make sure you were back and forth through emails and conversations, so we are absolutely on the same page. All right, so going back to the, working our way through the agenda. So the review of the project drivers, we already have that content. Brad has some really nice slides, so we just wanna touch on those enough to be sufficient for the audience. Go back to it if they have questions, the work so far. And then, I'm not gonna say stopgap, I'm gonna say reno only. Halfway through the agenda already. when we get to the costs,
So I have a question on this.
yes.
Do we want to jump into cost first, or do we want to go through the plans first so people understand? And then, because usually we like to do the cost at the end.
We should do the cost
I
at the
agree.
end, yeah.
No, I think everybody needs to know the benefits of what we're doing.
Correct.
Right,
You know,
right, because otherwise they just,
they're just gonna zoom in on the number and not pay attention to the
why.
meat of the whole
right.
Yeah. That's-
building.
Yeah, that would come last. So let's move that down in our list. Looking at the details of the bundle, which is what I've been calling the different options, which I'll stop calling that now, but just the list that you gave, we'll go through each of those. And then then we get to the pricing, and then we get to the tax impact, so that people can leave with an idea of what the 1-story, 2-story, or other options.
And we're gonna do the 15, 20-year
So
bond
we've priced,
outlook.
we've priced out now, 12, 14, 16, 18, over 15, 10, 15, 20, 25. And we've priced those out, we've gone out and showed the tax impact, and then put those against a 250, a 300, and 350 price home. And then we're gonna go back and get somewhere between
You
6, 8,
gonna
10.
do that in a bar graph type format?
We have that in a chart.
In a chart?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all right in front of you. Level debt, level principal, depending on which way we go with the bond, what we go with the bond. But
Right.
that at least gives us
Right.
that estimate. Knowing that's all built on this current tax, this budget, this tax cycle, this estimation of appraisal, right? So
Now,
we're using a lot of estimates.
Do we have another chart that's gonna show when every tax, the bonds that are current with
We
the
can-
town fall off?
We can put that together. We have that, we can put it together.
I just think that's an important piece.
Yeah, the safety building coming off.
We could pull that back up with the town site classes.
All right, how is it sounding to those who've done this a lot more times than we have?
Good.
Okay.
And we'll do the same with the potential renovation. I think we ran a 6, 8, 10. And then over, I think we just did there, maybe 5, 10, 15, or 10, 15, 20. We didn't go to the 25 on
Right.
on the old.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so
Sounds good.
that jumbles the
Good.
notes that I gave us to start with, but that sounds like a more solid plan.
Mm.
So then, just signaling for continuity for our folks attending, so, you're gonna own the whole deck, right? And then we can just get a draft before the meeting and just make sure Andy and I, you guys, DW, just so everyone's comfortable with where they go. Cause I thought it went very smoothly last time, so we can just repeat the same format. We got good feedback on it, so it's not really, it's working.
So the tax impact slides, is that something you're going to send to us for integration?
I can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think if we can have them in there, we can talk about making sure they're ready, and then that you can give us feedback on meshing smoothly without taking extra work for you, and then we would go over that.
Mhm.
We'll get to that, so you stay away from that one.
Now, who do we think should present the tax information? It's gotta be somebody that can present those numbers solidly and be able to run down through the chart and show people when things are gonna drop off and.
So, we were not gonna give you the standardized, we could do that in a handout, but we figured putting that large 10, 15, 20-year document up, it gets very confusing for people.
They're not gonna put an amortization schedule on it?
We were thinking about having them available. What we really wanna show you is just the initial impact, because the highest impact on that level debt, level principal is gonna be your second year. And so we're showing that, and then the understanding of level debt, level principal, on which one stays and which ones de-escalates.
I think one of your issues last year was you didn't have an amortization
No,
schedule.
we
It
did.
was really thought out well enough and explained good, because I did go to that meeting,
Yeah.
and a lot of people left and they were like,
Okay.
that's what I'm getting at. I think somebody's gotta be able to explain that cost impact very precisely and be able to answer some questions if they get tagged on it. Because last year was a little confusing for a lot of people that were there. They just didn't understand how it was gonna impact them on the 5th year.
Yeah, I think
You know.
that, okay.
I would I would just be really careful about having a table up that people in the back can't read, because there's too much on it.
Well, I think
You
it
know
should
what
be
I
a
mean?
part, I think it should be a part of the handout,
The
so they
problem,
can follow along, cause this is the most important structure of the whole thing. It's what people are gonna leave, and if they don't understand it,
but
they
I,
might not ask
but the
it.
play, so the play out more than a year, we're talking about numbers that we don't know. Right, so I know what that principal's gonna commit at, what that interest is gonna commit at. I don't know what the assessed value is of this community 5 years out. I don't know the tax impact from the town or the school. I don't know those
No,
budgets.
the only thing you can do is do the amortization schedule on the actual bond.
So we will have that as we did before. We
Yeah.
have that.
I just,
But why don't we work together to make
Yeah.
sure that we give a small, clear sample? So for a $300,000 house,
We have that. Yeah.
that's what we have. And then lay in some of this is, the second year is the biggest in. Why don't we
we can do that. As long
think of
as we're-
anybody who's never seen one before, or
Right.
wants to have a better experience than we delivered last year? We'll
Well, I
all
just
make
think there was a lot of
friendly.
questions last year that I heard after the meeting, that they just didn't quite understand
Understand
that portion of it. And I think that's gonna be kinda key as to, you know, cause a lot of people were like, well, why does it cost me more in the second year than it did the first year?
Principal payments in.
But they, you know what I mean, they didn't quite
Yeah.
understand the whole bond, so I think it's kind of important that we give them as best of an overview as we can with somebody that's knowledgeable on that. And I have no problem studying up on it and helping out.
I can
but
do that, and Kelly can help support.
I was gonna say your business manager would be.
I think that's what I, you know,
We'll get Kelly's help and
Right.
do it differently than last year.
Do you want to ask someone from the bond bank to attend?
So we had done that as well, and we actually had our bond attorney at our annual meet, at our budget hearing last year, and they went through it as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, again, we'll do whatever you need us to do, but I don't know if we need to go to that degree at this point.
I just think that it needs to be, I think people need to understand why their cost impact's different on different years.
Sure.
And so that they're not leaving being like, what, you know?
We'll give a definition of level debt, we'll give a definition of level principal, we'll explain what those.
Layman's terms.
Right, and
you
how
know.
they impact, and then we'll show them the amortization chart, and we'll show them the chart that shows the exact tax impact based upon the current numbers, and then
Correct.
what that.
We can't project what
Yeah.
3 years down the road,
Right.
tax rate's gonna be,
Yeah.
we can't do that.
We
But
can't.
this is gonna be the impact 3 years down the road. We do know that number.
Right, we know what the principal and the interest would be.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit of this is how this works
Yeah.
first, and then this is a example of a $300,000 home
Exactly,
after, which was an opportunity missed last year.
yeah.
So that, yeah, so three of us, Kelly,
Yeah.
make sure that somebody going the first time can really get it. Anything else? Hush falls over the crowd.
If you have your questions, did you want to do that as part of this discussion?
I don't know where, my only remaining questions is just about the elementary school gym.
Sherbert Gym.
Yeah, and whether, right now, it's not on our radar.
Right.
So,
That is correct.
okay.
Yep.
I'm not sure I actually understand this question.
I know, it's an error. So-
That's fair enough.
So on mine, I'm like, why did I do that? I'm like,
Oh,
what? And I
okay.
go, whoops. Yeah, so the renovation only option, it was a copy paste thing, I didn't delete
Okay.
it, so.
So are you getting what you need?
Yes.
Yeah, with the SURE, at least the way I've been looking at it is coming back with the plans that we're gonna have Wednesday to share, greatly refined, and having that conversation, depending on that, how that goes. The SURE maintaining its active life as it is just gonna maintain, and if there's disruption with doing the addition and having enough space, then we'd have to reconsider getting creative with using it, but it's,
Well, it does beg the question of if you have a rental-only option, and right now you have trouble using that gym for performances because of the acoustics, do you want to get some kind of an acoustic analysis of the building to see if there's a way to improve it?
or the one-story no auditorium option?
Well, it come up early in the project is, could there be better lighting, better acoustics, like a refresh, so that it's more viable for a large gathering? So, I don't know what your feelings are, but I think exploring what that would.
Well, I think you almost, we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't look at it for the renovation portion.
Right.
Because we need to have a place to have those types of gatherings. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, but we don't, I mean, it's usable, don't get,
So
it's
Sean,
not like it's.
we've had this conversation a few times, I think, and Jody as well. The two times that the gym gets called into play will be graduation and the Christmas concert. Acoustically, we bring in a professional sound system for graduation, and the Christmas concerts, kids sit their little hats out and it's all great. We will not probably conduct our plays. We were sort of doing in the round now, that's worked well for the last couple of years. Even our prize speaking is done in the music room up here. So I don't know the return
Right.
on the expense.
Is it a need or is it a want?
I think it's a want.
It's more.
Yeah, I would say it's a one. The second thing I would say to that, and it's a good discussion to have, but there have been some studies on it. I think what you've looked at, and I think Mr. Holden really speaks well to it, is it would take phenomenal overload to really make it acoustically
It would.
where you'd really want to do things. And realistically, play, for example, we've
Just
tried,
doesn't make sense.
we've tried all kinds of things. Years ago, there were some looks at it, and it was just, the price didn't match, like, not even remotely close to the price match on what it would be.
benefit
Because
wasn't there.
in the end, what it was built for,
Yeah.
Primarily, is to play basketball and to have gym classes. That's,
Right.
and for that, the acoustics are very good.
Right.
Yeah.
But for, for the graduation, for the music, performances, for the plays, that's not really what it was intended for. To overdo it would be phenomenally expensive.
Yeah.
And still wouldn't get it where you need it to really be.
We are always shocked at how expensive doing acoustical upgrades are. I mean, it's 6 figures, just for
Yeah, it's-
acoustics.
Right.
That's it, firmly in the want column. It's great we talked about it. Let's stay the course.
Yeah.
Okay, if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah.
So it's just there's too much benefit and too much exciting change with the plans we've got for
Mhm.
Wednesday. Let's not distract from that.
And my last question, so DEW is responsible for hard costs. Somebody is doing soft cost calculations?
I'm gonna do soft cost calculations, but it'll be an approximate. I'll work with the band, well, has a formula for that.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll be going over that.
The
Yeah,
biggest question we have typically with owner costs, we can help you target some ballparks. The IT, so, I don't know if that gentleman is here,
Not
but
tonight.
that is something we will need because it can range from very little to very high, so I thought, we should get him involved to help us target that.
Just what has to be done in this building is already very high.
Okay,
That's known.
okay.
So that there's a running start for him to provide.
And then
Okay.
furniture is a whole nother piece of it.
Right.
So are we reusing everything that you have, or do we want to, I don't know if you,
So is that the kitchen?
Furniture.
Oh, furniture.
Yeah.
that's another one that can, depending upon.
We would want to probably.
There's a lot that can be reused. We've kept it up,
I was gonna say, I mean,
Pretty
we walk,
standardized.
Yes.
walk through, it looks pretty.
yeah.
Pretty.
you
About
know.
half this building has been refurnished over the course of the last decade, so.
Yeah.
it's
And
pretty
then the last
modern.
one is hazmat, but I wouldn't think this,
Well, I wouldn't think there's much here.
But-
Well,
Little-
we do in the music room, we know that for a fact.
But we'll just carry an allowance for that.
Well, the furniture's a great way too, because it has been updated. It's also a
Right.
huge saving. So to be the point where we have to evaluate that is kind of a nice milestone. But when you walking through the building, there's some great opportunity to use most of it.
Did you get
Absolutely.
an abatement number for the music room?
Yes.
So, we gotta start on that.
dig
too.
that out.
Gotta dig that
There's a
out.
few things that I still don't have pricing on. The hood vent in the science lab is the other big one. And there's
Okay.
just a handful of spots where there's still some asbestos tile.
Yeah.
I think we're talking the music, well, Depends on what we wanna do in the music room, I guess. We'd have to remove the ceiling in there, so it's an acoustical glaze. And, yeah, it depends on if we wanna raise the ceiling up in there. I mean, if it's still used as a music room versus what else we might wanna do in there.
But you do have the abatement number for it.
Yes.
So that's a good one to have.
And what's the neighborhood,
Soft costs.
what is neighborhood?
To abate that, I think it was under 5,000.
Okay, so we're okay,
Oh,
no, no.
So there's not even a
Then
ton
that's
in
not
there.
even,
Okay,
okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that.
Just tear it out.
Just one
Tear it out
small,
and hollow it out.
hopefully small thing from open house, which was a great experience, the science tables
Resin top?
in, Jack's room, I hope we can get those on a list somewhere.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, those are probably original
40 years old.
cabinets. Yeah, the
Resin top.
Formica's
Ah.
peeling off the face of the.
and the room is kept immaculate, but those poor
Yeah,
tables
that's on the
need to be
to-do
retired.
list.
Alright, so that's great, so we're talking about those kinds of things, that means we've made some progress. to
Amy,
have
do you
those
have,
established.
do you have, some specific questions regarding technology that you can share with us?
It's just depending upon the district and what the needs are. We don't know if you need new fiber, if you need a new server room, or, so we've seen it, and sometimes when you try to, you know, get the bond budget set, we do an allowance, but then when the bond passes, then the IT sees it's real, and then what we have for the IT triples. So-
Within IT, is that a clock system, a PA system, or is that somewhere else
That is a separate line item,
within that you have?
just IT. So wireless,
Okay, so just
labs.
the IT itself,
Right.
not
Yeah.
clocks,
No.
controls, cameras?
But we need to know, is your phone system adequate now, or do we have to redo the whole thing? Can it be expanded?
Yeah, we got
Uh,
a very detailed and helpful presentation on that last,
Okay.
since you've been on the board, or was it before?
And there is a
Yeah,
little.
so that's fresh.
Crossover, cause like, you know, are you gonna do your PA through your phone in your classrooms, and then that's an IT
Right.
network, so.
That hasn't worked all
there's-
that
No, we're not gonna continue doing that.
But these are all questions to kinda suss out.
Okay.
Security systems, all that stuff goes through that, doesn't it?
Card readers, cameras.
So that'd be Mike, right?
Yep.
Card readers can be a huge thing, I mean, and there's a norm for how many you're putting in, but sometimes early on, folks forget what they cost per door, and they want them everywhere, and so it's sort of a security strategy you need to be thinking about as we're putting together the software.
And we have been through that
Climate.
process even here, so there's 4 here intentionally.
Right.
There's like
Right.
4?
4. Now, obviously that would change, but we've had those discussions. Those come up pretty routinely. Can we put one there?
And I think
Here's the co- yeah, here's the
DEW is
cost.
also, you're putting a certain amount, a certain level of security in your pricing.
Good putting.
Because security is one of those that's A, B, C, D, or E. And then what you're coming up with, how are we carrying that?
I don't wanna speak for you.
Typically pre-bond, you know,
That's what I mean. What do you want
their
to pre-bond?
number for electrical, their cost per square foot for electrical would cover the electrical required by the security, but the school's owner soft cost should carry the cameras.
Gotcha.
Should carry the
Right.
WAPs, should
So they're
carry-
gonna have the cable in
Right.
play.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
We're gonna need all the hardware.
exactly,
Right.
Yeah.
the head end.
Right.
Okay.
And then you
We'll have
can't-
some of that. Yep.
I got a taste at work for that recently,
Oh,
how much that stuff costs, it's just unbelievable. I was shocked, I thought I'd guessed high, just for some of these new self-locking doors, the key card and everything, wow.
Yep.
2 days to put one of them in.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so you're getting what you need
Yep.
for
And I'll,
soft costs?
over the next day, be going back and forth, yep.
Alright, so, put you on the spot a little bit, maybe Gordon, lumping you in there with all the schools that you've done, all the communities you've helped get to the finish line. What are some gotchas, watch out fors, stories you wanna tell us? Can we leverage some of the things that, boy, it would've gone a little better for them if they had thought about this little thing at this point? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but we were trying to set a record for transparency
I
and
guess
thoroughness.
just to listen, and you can't please everyone, and we're presenting the facts, so these are the facts.
Okay.
things that I've come across are remembering the history, which I don't know the history here, but if the committee can be ready to recall, 2000 and whatever, when you first started to kick the tires on this thing, where the schemes were, why it didn't work at that point. Not to talk about the history, but just have it fresh, so when, if the question comes up, it's there. And
I think the other thing too, the previous public hearing that we had, there were some questions that were asked that we said we would follow up on. So I think we need to be ready to have answers if we've researched those questions. And the case in point is the wetness of the soccer field, and
Right.
we've researched
Yeah,
that. Or
Right.
that was actually one of my questions. I'm gonna follow up with Gordon afterwards, if he knows where the water table is on that. Because if we're matching finished floors, we're bringing that soccer field up multiple feet.
Just based on what they talked about when they were out there, I think there was good news, actually. They were showing like 2 feet of sand below the top layer, and they were guessing like what we were seeing for drainage issues was really just overuse of the soccer field, so the top layer is just so compacted, it wouldn't allow the water to drain through, but I was really surprised.
Too much
'cause
loam on top.
They were,
sound.
yeah, they were
12 inches of-
a compacted 8 to 12 inches of loam on top of 2 feet of sand though.
So even aerating the field won't do much.
Nope.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Not unless you got core drill.
You're right.
And then the other thing that I've seen some communities do, because we have 2 options, is to try to get consensus behind one, so that it does not split the community, so.
I think that's the goal by the end of the forum, because we learned an awful lot, and we're where we are because of the community
Right.
feedback.
The first forum is what guided us
Yes.
to where we are.
First one got us the ideas, the last one got us to where all this work has been able to do, because we know the community wants that. Not everybody's happy, we're absolutely sure, serving on the school board, that not everybody's happy all the time. But it is definitely community driven, so, maybe it's part of how we kick it off, is we wanna inform, we wanna educate, but we wanna get consensus on one of these 2 similar plans moving forward. It's not like we have fix the old school and build a new one. We've got 2 very thoughtful but different plans to get down to. So I think that's what we really want. We can actually use that to, we're game to move on to the next agenda item, is what are the next steps after the public forum? So the goal is that people are dazzled by being informed in a thoughtful, detailed way, and that we get to one guidance from the community on which one to proceed with. So then, I guess steps after the forum, my vote would be we capture the questions and we just post the questions. Capture them all, we can't answer them for a couple days, so we do some research. But why don't we commit to that? We'll just, if you're writing them down from before, we write them down, and then we just have a post forum, all questions goes up on the site, and then everybody gets that. Because they'll probably, one question will inform 20 other people if we answer it effectively. So why don't we do that, is add the questions and answers from the forum, capture them all.
Yep.
If we ideally are comfortable that we've gotten to one, then what's next?
So I think in the past, what we've done is we have, brought that option a bit further with the design, so depending upon which option, we would go to that next level. But really, it's the fields and really bringing that up to the same completion level that the building is at, so we have a better understanding of what the actual real costs are. And the third leg is the owner soft costs, so we would continue. So the other thing that we should put out there at the forum is that these numbers are in flux. This is not a max, this is a range. We still have more homework to do, so
Right.
don't grab onto these, but in December, that's when we'll have the bond number.
That's a good point about
That's a really good point.
the number. For these options, are we gonna say $1 to $2, or is it just gonna be $1? So the price of each option with the soft cost,
I would-
people are gonna see a
yeah.
number. You wanna show them $1, or you wanna show them it's kinda $1 to $2?
To me, it's confusing. I mean, to me, if we have the three options that we're talking about, the renovation, the one-story, two-story, just to have one that's, people know are wiggling is better than a range, because it can get confusing.
Okay.
That's a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think, because of where we are, and we're not as far with the fields, I think for most people to say the range of, so I even say a number now, someone's gonna like tattoo that on my forehead when I leave the meeting, so X to X, you know, like a $3 million range, we expect it to be whatever millions of dollars, and that's made up of the, you know, there's three buckets that we have. And if we know on the building, I would think the building, you could be pretty tight, and the fields, because we're not done yet, is gonna have to be either, like you had suggested, no number, because we can't responsibly give one, or to, as soon as we can to say, you know, whatever, a couple $1 million range, or whatever it becomes. But I think as long as we're consistent in communicating, this is the most we can give you now, that when we come back in December, deeper drawings, deeper detail, narrower range, or maybe no range, having numbers. But to be able to give people a responsible sense on Wednesday night when they leave, we can only give what we can give.
So the expectation would be is that moving forward, there'd be two numbers presented in December, which would be the new school that we decide on, that the community decides on, and the renovation.
Correct. Because we can't do,
Right.
it's gotta be the
Why
fields
not?
and the new school and.
So you have to be careful you don't split, you know, so you,
So if I may, one number, when you say new school, in my head, the new school and the middle high school renovation are one project, because they have.
No, I'm talking
Oh, the renovation only.
Yes.
renovation only.
Okay, good, okay, just wanna make sure we're, okay, good,
Right,
good.
right. No, I'm not talking about anything else but
Okay.
whether we leave the forum and we get the warm fuzzy feeling for the auditorium or not the auditorium option.
Mhm.
We're gonna fine tune that one number
Mhm.
to the finish line in December with fine tuning that one number, which I'll be active in the fields committee also, because in that number of renovation, we have to fix our field. So that's gotta be, that has to be a part of that renovation number, right?
Yes, I'm wondering if it's an easier way just to talk about it is the renovation only for the middle high school, the renovation only for the elementary school. So yes, we're talking about renovation only, but anything we do with the auditorium or not with the new elementary school, we have to do the work on this building. I just wanna make sure our terminology.
Well, I think renovation only includes both schools
Yes.
Yeah.
with fields.
No, currently I don't have it that way, but we're
Right.
already doing the work on the
Right.
fields.
Right, I'm adding the fields in later on in life because we have to have that number in that bond vote.
And that number potentially changes because we're just doing renovations and we potentially aren't leaving site either.
Correct, so
Right.
now we're just fixing what we have so we can use it, and that would be under the renovations number. And my
Makes sense.
brain,
and I would think if the 30th, if we could present the renovations only and get to one preferred option rather than carry the renovation and new, it's better off, if we can. I
if
don't
we
know.
can,
If-
I totally
yes,
agree with
yes.
that. You know, if we get the
We can't
wink and
carry
the
both.
nod.
I'm with you. We
Yeah.
can't carry both, it's just confusing.
Right.
And distracting. Cause we do the new building on the field, and we fix this building, that's our new building. We haven't touched on yet is an if-then bond, whatever the term is, the if-then bond that if this modern school doesn't pass, the bare minimum to keep that going for a few years while we figure it out, that has to, we don't need to get into that on the 30th, but that is looming, that if this gets down, we have some serious short-term problems to address. I knew you were gonna illustrate that on.
So we're gonna
30th.
use that number, that renovation only number, just as a number to show them that in the future, if we don't pass the new school, we're not gonna push that one forward. So
Right.
I think that we have to have some data in there for an allowance in there to fix our fields. That's, I guess, that's for the 30th then.
We can get that.
You know what I mean? I just think that that's pretty important.
It is, and it'd be great if we had another month before, but we don't. The
I know.
community needs to hear what we know,
Right.
so we'll share it.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Because that's a pretty stout number.
Well, we're talking potentially about taking the one good field we have and making that an all-season field, if you will.
Right.
Right?
Right. You know, so I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. I know that you've done plenty of field work and turf fields and, you know,
Yeah.
so we have to have some idea
Yep.
of what we need to do to be responsible, to tell people.
And we might come back with a very different number when we get, if we make progress with a couple of the other options,
Correct,
but
right.
everyone's gotta take it as this is the best we can do in this moment. And
Right.
it's probably gonna be different in a month, and hopefully it'll be better, but
Mhm.
it could be more expensive.
So. Okay.
How's the audience doing? Alright.
I'm awake.
People often leave these meetings, the school board meetings, and say that it's even more glamorous.
I do have a comment, having tracked this for a long time, I'm very impressed with the amount of detail and thoughtfulness and that's gone into this. Whatever the outcome, I really appreciate the effort of the board, the committee, the professionals. I mean, I haven't been around a couple times, I'm very impressed with the detail and thoughtfulness that's gone into it, and I thank you all.
Thanks. Alright, so we are through to the last item. Are you feeling good about the agenda, feeling good about the plan? You've been keeping a poker face for the amount of work that has to be done.
My temples flaring?
No, I will never play poker with you. You got a lot on your plate, but again, this is why we hired you, because you've done this, you've helped an awful lot of communities, and we know you're gonna come through for us, so. We're down to the last agenda item, other business or issues needing to be addressed. I think we sort of woven that through the whole conversation in the last 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Anything that we need to think through that helps us, that helps community understand, anything that you can think of. I'm staring at Gordon.
I think the biggest thing that the biggest thing is next week, even though you're gonna have things up on the projector, is to have hard copy in front of you, because people wanna flip through.
They wanna
it
follow along.
And follow along, and it is not as easy as one would think up on the screen. I think that, it's just like we're talking about the amortization schedule. It's great to have it up on the screen, and you want it as one of your slides, but people really need to look at it and say, okay, so that's my house.
Mhm.
And this is where I am in 4 years when I'm retiring, okay, that's my tax. That's all. I think the more handouts, the better for everybody.
We can make.
And we can do that, that's not a problem.
Just do the whole deck and those other things, and a double-sided staple so people can make notes on them.
It's a lot of slides.
Well, there's, we could print them as 3 slides per page with notes, cause that encourages it, cuts it by a third, and then they can look online and download the whole thing. So I think,
Well, you can
I
do
do
it.
think
And
it's
they
great
don't
you
have
brought
to
it
be
up.
color. They don't have to be color either. I mean, people, they've got color, there's just, I mean, yours
So-
are color.
So other than the cost, we have everything all set, why wouldn't we upload it online and people could go there?
So Jody, I think you had a good point. So that sensitization scale, 10 years is fine, but 15, 20, and 25, you're not gonna see it from no matter where you are.
Right.
Right, so maybe giving you the chart that sort of outlines the tax impact
Right.
on those, and then the impact on the home, but then having those handouts, the symbolization handouts available as well. And I don't know, we can put them, we have them now, we can put them online whenever we want.
I do
We
think.
can still outline
Yeah, I don't know
level
if we
debt,
wanna do
level
it yet.
principal.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, we can still go over the terminology, well, level debt, level
Exactly.
principal,
Right.
but we have a little issue on how to get things to people right now, but putting all that in a slide might, no one's gonna really be able to pick up on that, whereas if you have it in your hand,
Right.
you're gonna do this.
So if,
Is that?
The other thing you mentioned
Yeah.
was hypothetical dollar amounts that you had put in like 8 million, 10 million, is that what you said? You
Yeah,
said
so I was
8, 10.
gonna talk to Matt before we left.
So-
I think we need to fine tune that.
So I think, again, if we know that the lowest we Greg, don't put the label on your head, but if the lowest amount that we're gonna hit is, let's say, 9 million, there's no sense giving the 5 and 6 million scenario is what
Well,
I'm
it's-
saying. Let's wait till
Yeah,
we
that's
get
my
rounding the
concern.
corner of the weekend and we begin seeing what the figure might be, and let's keep our examples somewhat within
Yeah,
that.
keep it shrunk down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right?
Yeah.
So-
We just wanted to do it so we could start on the work.
Sure, so you had
You
an
had to
idea
have
of
it
what it's
all,
gonna look like.
Because you don't know what the answer's
Right.
gonna be, no, we don't.
Now, do we wanna go into any history of, school history on when our last bond was?
Go back to 2006 and talk about that. You know, start
I
talking
mean,
about the
because it's
process
not
of
like we're,
1996.
we're not always asking the town for money here. I just wanna, I don't know if we wanna.
Talking about the overall bond to do this building in 98, 77?
You know,
We had a slide.
I just don't know, I don't, you know,
We had a history slide with the 98 or whatever it was, 2006, 2012. I think just reviving that. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was a
We
bullet
had
point.
a history timeline from the last project, I believe,
History
right?
timeline from the last project and just bring that forward as a potential. So you're right, so we say at work, we're whiteboarding, we're figuring out. I wanna back up. The entire deck would be overwhelming and ridiculous use of paper. So what do people need to leave with?
The tax impact.
Tax impact. All this other stuff that we're spending time on, everybody wants the tax impact. So if we can get a couple pages that
Easy
illustrates
read.
it in a reasonable way, with Kelly's help,
right.
in a format that's more appealing, at a minimum, they should be able to leave with that.
Yep.
And Kelly should also help us understand how long we wanna amortize out the improvement, or, let me get, the renovation only.
We
It's-
have that.
It actually, often it's like doing like fixing your car. At some point, you're fixing your car and it costs a lot more on this end and then it dribbles out on the other end. So that will be an interesting scenario. I don't have the answer to it, but I think she will. That even though the renovation may be less money, it may not be as attractive dollar-wise as what you might see on a screen. It's like putting money into your car initially.
Now, a question, when you give us the renovation number, is that a immediate, is that a 2-year, is that a 5-year, is that a 10-year? So is that number just, this is what needs to be done and not a scope of time within it?
We are anticipating a scope of time based on value. So I don't know that number, but I know we're starting to build in, like, let's just, it's difficult to do X number of million of dollar in one summer. So we're gonna have to do it over 2 summers maybe, or
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So we're trying to build that, as we're building this renovation only program that these guys have outlined, here's what they need, new stair tower for egress and blah, blah, blah.
But you have to be careful because of inflation.
That's why we're doing multiple years, and we have inflators and inflation rates in there to go
Okay.
multiple years.
And you're probably starting in 2021, right? I mean, it's the same year that a new school would be starting.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that gets to your point, Gordon,
Yeah.
of the upfront to
Yes.
how long to the
Right.
overall at the end.
That's all.
It might be starting next.
And that'll be good. And then it'll also be clear to the public that it isn't gonna be able to be done out of operating, because one of the first things that people do is, let's not do this. Let's go back to the renovation only. But let's not bond for it. Let's pay for it out of our pocket. And that's not, your figure's gonna be such that that's not gonna be possible. And it's part of, we have to bring bad news as well as good.
The only other conversation regarding the bond, and we talked about this last year, would be our ability to potentially go to a bank and
Right.
get that to be able to pay principal down ahead of time. I don't know if we want to get into that conversation, it's a little bit early to do that.
I think it's too early.
It's too early,
But-
but I'm very excited about that.
I am too.
Personally, we're excited about it, but
Okay, I just want to make
I
sure
love
we don't
that
want to put it
idea.
on the
we
table.
love keeping the
Because
money
we
local.
do a little bond, a little bank, and
I love the idea.
The amount that the public
gonna say with the
is gonna
bond,
be
good.
digesting Wednesday night, I think we should pace ourselves. This feels too early.
Yeah.
I don't wanna distract from the core thing.
Right, we
The
gotta get through
why,
this, we gotta get through this.
the
first
how, the cost.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
It's a lot for people to digest, so if we don't need, anything we don't need for their benefit, let's not overwhelm them. We got plenty of time to do that
Yes.
through December through March. Any last things? What about for you guys and your staff? Anything you can think of that would be helpful? Anything coming to mind?
I do kind of like the idea of what our expenses, you know, what we've spent in the last 90 years.
You know, it's not like, I've lived here a long time, you don't see very often a bond item on for the school,
Yeah.
you know, so.
I think the side had all of that. The history side.
Yeah, I'll
Dig it out. I think we're at-
finding that,
I just, I don't know,
maybe
it's
recreating.
an interesting little trinket that, you know, we're not always coming to the town and asking for something new and shiny,
Well,
you know.
and I've really aggravated people by saying this, but as a fairly new resident, talking about it with somebody today, right before the meeting, you know, this has been a known issue for 20 years in town and hasn't been resolved. So, we are at the end of the wick on the candle on the hill, and so we have to do something. So, it's great that people have different opinions and everything else, but it's been a known problem for 20 years or more, and we've burned up our ability to keep using that school. I'm afraid of what you're gonna, because of Matt's work, I'm pretty sure I know what you're gonna bring to us, but having him say you found even more things, I'm frightened to think of what it would take to resuscitate that building for a little bit longer. But this is where we find ourselves as a community. This is what we chose to do. However we got to here, we're here, and we have to figure this out.
Between the staff and everybody in town, they guided us to this point to get here. It's not, these aren't our ideas, you know.
There's a tremendous amount of historical documents you guys gave us, and I think we did pretty well combing through it all, but a lot of that list, that scope, most of it came from those multiple documents, you know, even some solutions that I thought I was very clever coming up with, this, you know, oh, we can fix it this way, and then I found in an obscure document someone else had suggested the same thing 5 years back. So, you know, a lot of people have looked at this clearly. So, yeah, so thank
Yeah.
you for all the material.
Yeah. Well, I think also for you guys and for us, particularly for your folks that are in your schools, no matter what, this is a big change. And it's hard, change management can be hard, and there's been an incredible amount of thoughtful teamwork and compromise to get to something that can bring the district forward, that the voters can understand and really potentially support. So some of the backstory is towards, to this point, we haven't won anything yet, but the staff and administration have done a very thorough and thoughtful job making sure that we're only bringing forward what we absolutely need for education. There's no bells and whistles, there's no aspirations, no fluff, it's incredibly thorough. So that has been a lot of work to get to this point, and we're very appreciative, because we wouldn't be here if you guys hadn't been able to dig in and do that with and all the staff that work here.
On that note, probably worth mentioning, there's been some work on the ed specs with some efficiencies on how we can get the new addition work out of the high school and put that with the elementary school additions, so that it's way more cost effective to build one structure. That was the DEW suggestion on the 25th of September. And so really good progress on that. And, you know, Russ, kudos to Russ for helping us walk through how we can, you know, what functions can be juggled in order to just keep this an internal reno of the high school, the middle high school, and be doing only a new building in one location.
Right.
So, very helpful as we look at leveraging the asset you already have and maximizing that instead of trying to tack onto it here and there.
I think when we get through Wednesday and hopefully guided community feedback on the one that we're gonna go with, I do think whether we share it beyond this kind of a meeting, I think it'd be interesting for you to give us an estimate from where we started with all the little addition out